Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anita, and for those of you that are new here, I'm a real estate investor here in the UK. I own my own portfolio of properties and manage close to 100 tenants. Today, I'm going to be letting you guys into a little nightmare that I've been having with regards to my properties. And as you may have very well guessed from the title of this video, it has to do with managing agents and how to deal with them when things go bad. As part of being an investor, I can't be on site managing my own properties all the time, so I outsource this work to managing agents in my different locations. And I've loved all of my managing agents so far. They have all been great and very helpful, and I can honestly say they've made my life so much easier. However, very recently I've started to have quite a bad experience with one particular agent, and that led me to do my own research on how to get out of that bad situation, and hence make this video to share the tips I learned along the way with you guys. So if you are a landlord and your valuable real estate investment, so if you're a landlord and have given your valuable real estate investment to managing agents and have noticed large chunks of your rental income are just vanishing month on month, then on top of your agreed management fees, or if you're a tenant who have had a bad experience with a managing agent, then this video is for you. So to give you guys some context for me personally, I purchased a portfolio of properties in a student location. All of them are HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, and they're all let out to students. So I wanted to find the best possible agents to manage my properties. So I went online, did a Google search, and found the top rated agents for my specific location and contacted the best agent who had the best Google reviews and thought, okay, I found my guy. This guy has amazing reviews. So I got in touch with them, gave them a phone call, sent them an email, and of course they were amazing at first, responded to my emails like instantly, and they were even so kind as to give me a multi-property managing discount, so a discount to their managing fee for bringing them multiple properties. So it literally felt like a match made in landlord heaven, and I was so happy. However, as the months passed by and they began to actually start managing the properties, I began to notice that some months there were just no rental payments from certain tenants, or there was the amount of rent missing. Initially they blamed it on the students, saying okay, the students student loan hadn't come in, so there were some delayed payments which they would then send as a lump sum later. And I'd heard of that one before, and in the past students had issues paying, so they paid later on, and I didn't make much of it, said okay, that's completely fine. However, later on, one batch of students was particularly rough and they trashed one of my properties, and the agents were highly unsuccessful in being able to transfer me the student deposits to cover the damage, and they kept making up excuses on the student not agreeing, even though the damage they had done was much more than the deposit would even cover. In the past, when any damage had been done, the deposit had very easily been obtained and the repair work had been carried out from the damage the student had done. So it was quite disappointing when it wasn't the same case in this scenario with these agents. So as the months went on, they finally did give us lump sum rental payments that were due. However, as I started to scroll down the statement, I could see several deductions and the amount of rental income just decreasing and decreasing and decreasing until the actual amount that was paid to me was really small compared to what had actually been received. And when I went through these charges, it was just something ridiculous, like cleaning for the whole house was like 300, and then they had a separate cleaning cost for the bathroom for another 100, another cleaning cost for the oven, another 100, a separate cleaning cost for the carpet, and I was just like so confused. I'm like, you charge me for cleaning the whole house, and does that not include the carpet, and does not include the oven, and surely the bathroom is part of the whole house, and yet I'm paying separately for the bathroom. So it was just ridiculous charges like that, just added on until there was like minimal rental income actually coming to me. And to give you guys some context, this is for properties that were really newly refurbished and great condition, also had all of the licenses in place, so all of the fire safety safety, electrics, water safety testing, HMO licenses, everything was in place. So it was not like they're poorly looked after houses in desperate need of some TLC. That was completely far from it, hence why all of these little charges came as a huge shock. And from past experience, the tenant cleaning fee at the end of the tenancy is almost always charged to the tenant. I have been a tenant myself in multiple properties. I always paid for cleaning myself. All my other properties in different locations as well, we always charge the tenants for it, and they're fine with it because it's included in the contract. So it did come as a shock when they started to charge us hundreds upon hundreds of pounds just to clean one single property, and added across several properties, it's several grand. That was not even the last of it. The huge number of costs kept on going on for months upon months, which is ridiculous things like £60 for just one light bulb, or another 60 pounds to take out the trash, charges like that. I also made the huge mistake of handing over control of bills to the managing agents. In the past, I've handled bills myself. However, in this specific instance, they were very confident in the beginning that they could handle bills for us, so I let them handle the bills. And big mistake and a very expensive lesson learned. Put us on a plan with one supplier who was ridiculously expensive, charging around £600 a month for gas and electric per 6-bedroom HMO, which is absolutely ridiculous. And when we questioned them, asking them for the actual bills and the actual statements, they made all types of excuses saying, oh, the energy supplier hasn't given us the statement. And it was, I think, after like 4 or 5 months of pushing that they finally gave us 2 statements from the energy supplier. And when we looked at the statement, it not only had the bill from the previous landlord we had purchased the property from, but shockingly, it also showed that the agents hadn't actually been paying out the money that they had been deducting for us, and there was still a huge balance owed. Yeah, so that was not great. So months later, they did finally make some of the payments, and we also managed to get the actual meter readings for some of the properties. And when we got the meter readings and submitted to these energy companies, we actually got quite a lot of a refund back because we had been overpaying by a ridiculous amount. However, they were super cheeky and they hid the fact that we actually had credit from us, and the energy company had said they had already refunded the money, and the agent said no, they hadn't gotten the money back and kept denying it. So the energy company is saying one thing, the agent is saying another thing, and no one seemed to know where the money had gone. So as you can see, total frigging disaster happening over there, a situation you never want to be in. It's been super stressful and a huge nightmare, hence why I'm making this video, so that I can help you guys manage situations like this and actually even avoid them. Because it was literally like watching someone steal your cash from right under your nose, because you know it's there, you know that the tenants are paying you, and yet you're watching people take chunks of it and just walk away with it, and there's nothing you can do. So many angry emails and calls later, we had had enough and we decided to take things into our own hand. One of the first things we did was to actually regain control of the bills, because that's where we were making the biggest losses from the energy bills. Even though the government had a 2.5k a year price cap, ours were like £600 a month, which is just insane. So took back control of the energy bills to try to gain some sense of control over our finances and to also prevent further losses. So enough of me rambling and blabbing. Let me actually share with you guys some steps you can take in order to deal with situations like this. This might sound super obvious, but step number 1 is to actually talk to your agents. So talk to your managing agent, the person in charge of your properties, talk to the director of the company, talk to accounts, and preferably do this in writing, in email, because if you need to escalate things even further, you do need a written trail. Write to all of them, explain in as much depth as possible, attaching all of the proof, the statements, or rather the lack of statements, the lack of invoices, and the lack of actual proper bills, and explain to them what has happened and what you would ideally like to see as a resolution to these problems. Ask them for the invoices, for the bills, and all the missing information, and you probably have a certain price cap before which they can charge things without having to ask you. And even if they are within your threshold stated in your contract, you still have the right to ask for the invoices and proof of the money charged. And this is precisely something I did as well. Now, if you're still unhappy with their response and the amount of information they have supplied, or if they're unable to supply you with certain information you have requested, that's where we go to step number 2. So step number 2 is making an official complaint using the company's internal complaint policy or complaint system. Every good managing company will have a complaint system in place where you can make official complaints. And if they don't have an official system, they would normally direct you to a person like the director of the company who can address the complaint you have and deal with it. So get their email and contact detail and make a detailed complaint of everything that has gone wrong with all of the proof attached, the information that you do have that has been provided, the information that's missing that you would like to have, and also what you're hoping to achieve out of this. It also helps that you both agree on a time limit of when this should be dealt by. In my case, they said that they would eventually refund the money for the overcharged energy bills, and fingers crossed they do this because we're still waiting. Now, if your complaints fall on deaf ears even after you've followed their internal complaint procedure, or you're dissatisfied with their response or their resolution, and you have given them sufficient time to deal with your complaint, then it's time for you to escalate your complaint. It's worth noting that from 1st of October 2014, all lettings and property agents are compulsorily required to be part of one of two redress schemes. These are schemes designed to ensure that tenants, leaseholders and landlords have a straightforward option to hold their agents accountable. Also, the Consumer Estate Agents and Redress Act of 2007 make it compulsory for an agent to be part of an ombudsman scheme. So in the UK, the two compulsory schemes are first, the Property Ombudsman, also called TPO, and second, the Property Redress Scheme. Both of these schemes offer independent investigations of complaints about hidden fees and poor service received. So check with these schemes to see if your estate agent is a member of them, and if they aren't, you can also complain to your local trading standard department. It is, however, important to know that your ombudsman will not deal with your complaint until you've exhausted your own agent's internal complaint procedure, and if after doing that you haven't been able to reach a resolution together with them. So make sure you do that first. So step number 4 after this is to take your complaint to a trade association. Now, there are a few of these. For estate agents in particular, there is the National Associations of Estate Agents, NAEA for short. They can take disciplinary action against your agent if your agent hasn't protected your interests. So definitely check if your agent is a member of this body. And for letting agents, there's a professional organization called the Association of Residential Letting Agents, or ARLA, and they can help investigate a complaint for you. And for managing agents, there's the Association of Residential Managing Agents, ARMA for short, and they mainly deal with agents who manage whole buildings on behalf of the freeholder. So definitely check if your managing agent is a member of these professional bodies, as they may be able to help you. Step number 5 is when all of the previous 4 steps don't work and you're completely run out of solutions and the loss you've suffered is just too big to ignore. And this is taking court action. This is, however, one of the more expensive options, so please do make sure you've exhausted all of the other options before you go to this one. I understand it may be frustrating while you're going through the process and not getting any results. However, patience is key here. But if you do decide to go to court, then it's worth first contacting the Citizens Advice Bureau. They are a free service and they're able to offer you free advice and look at all of your possible options for dealing with your issue, and can on occasion even provide you with legal advice and can also help you pay your legal fees. Step number 6 is the final step, and that is to protect other landlords and tenants. So here I recommend you write up a Google review or a review on other websites that this company might be advertised on, offering your honest feedback on the experience you've had. And if there are many of you who are part of the portfolio, I recommend getting all of you guys to write a review, the more the better, on this negative experience, because the last thing we want is another landlord losing thousands of pounds or another tenant going through a horrible experience. We are in a cost of living crisis, guys. We cannot afford to be losing more money. The mini budget was enough. Finally, I have some tip for you guys to avoid getting bad managing agents in the first place. So if we can prevent it, then we don't need to treat it. So first tip is to not rely on Google reviews. I made the mistake of relying on Google reviews and not doing my research thoroughly, simply because in the past I've had great experiences with previous managing agents. So I just magically assumed that it would be the same, and it was not. Second is to check which trade associations your agent is a part of before signing them on. Most agents proudly advertise this, so it shouldn't be hard to find. And if they don't, then you know something is off. Also, do a search on the major property platforms, Rightmove, Zoopla, OpenRent, etc. to see which agents are the most popular agents that other landlords are advertising with in your particular property hotspot. Fourth tip is to set out clear expectations from the beginning with your agents. Most agents have a standard terms of business agreement that they would like you to sign. However, read this thoroughly, and if there are points within it that you don't agree with, fees within it that you don't agree with, go back to them, tell them what you're unhappy with and what you would like changing. Most agents are very flexible about this and are happy to make a few changes here and there. And tip number 5 is to know exactly how much you're going to pay upfront. And by this I mean management fees, maintenance fees that the agents would charge in order to help you carry out certain repairs, tenant finding fees, fees for certain certificates, and make sure you put in a clause that states that they are not allowed to charge you any maintenance fees without your prior approval. So get rid of that certain threshold, which is often like 100, 200, a ridiculous amount, and make sure you have it in there saying that you would like them to ask your permission first before they charge you anything extra on top of their existing management fees. And if you're a tenant watching this video, make sure you have it in writing, how much deposit you're meant to pay, where the deposit is going, how soon you can get it back, as well as what they are allowed to charge you or not allowed to charge you out of that deposit. Also, make sure you know cleaning fees, if they're included, not included, and also make sure to ask them how much notice they're legally obliged to give you before the agent is allowed to enter your property. If you are a tenant watching this video, all of the above that I've mentioned also applies to you. And in addition to all that, you should also be aware of the Consumer Rights Act of 2015 that requires all agents to perform their job with reasonable care and skill, within reasonable time and within a reasonable price. For letting agents specifically, Section 83 of this act requires agents to legally display their fees for both tenants and landlords alike at their premise and also on their website. And this should include a description of each fees, which is easily understandable to the consumer, of what the fee actually covers, an explanation identifying whether tenants are liable to pay per property or per tenant under the tenancy agreement for that property. And third, the amount of each fee inclusive of tax, and if a fee value cannot be reasonably determined in advance, then a description of how this value will be calculated in the future should be included. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this video, guys. I really hope this was useful to you and helps you through any managing agent issues you may be experiencing. It's hard when you are in that situation and you're actually dealing with these issues. Trust me, I know, I've been there, but just remember, you're not alone on this. That's why these governing bodies exist, and know that there are solutions to this problem and there are people to help. If you guys have other tips and tricks of ways to deal with managing agents, or any other solutions, or any other video suggestions for future videos, please of course do let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for your constant support. It means so much to me, so thank you, and I can't wait to see you all in my next video.